Hi, Jan here again, the Pagan Prepper, and Neil, the Pagan Prepper's husband.
Hiya.
And if you haven't already seen it, we've just made another video about how we try to keep ourselves as healthy as possible, which is incredibly important for us because we both have major health issues.
Yeah.
Neil has Hashimoto's autoimmune disease. I have ME and also a problem with my heart. It's in the I have an electrical problem with my heart, so it sends out the wrong signals. And somebody was giving me some advice the other day on messages. Thank you very much for anybody who comments and gives me advice about anything. But that particular one was advising that I use something in particular, which when I looked it up is actually contraindicated for my personal condition. But thank you anyway, I appreciate it. So I have that ME, chronic arthritis. I've had both knees operated now, so I've got cobalt steel knees. Mm-hmm. They are brilliant. I fully recommend getting yourself a pair of steel knees. If your bone ones aren't working, sometimes you have to give in and get the new ones. And then, as the title of the channel suggests, I've also got issues with my brain. I've got half the right hemisphere completely gone now. So what you see is what I got left. So it's really, really important for us to keep our health as on a higher level as possible, because we're not well enough to get ill, if you know what I mean. And so I work very, very hard to be very proactive about our health care. And I firmly believe that you're the one operating your own body. And so, you know, you can go to doctors and things, but they don't know you as well as you know you. And I took that to the extreme of, with both my knees, when I had my knees done, I had them done on a spinal anaesthetic so that I could be awake and talk to them all the way through, which turned out on the first knee to be absolutely crucial because they'd told me to not take my other medication for a couple of days before the surgery. Mm-hmm. So I hadn't taken my heart medication. By the time I'm in the, I was going to say the antechamber, it's not an antechamber, what do you call it before you go into surgery?
Pre-op?
Well, where they give you the anaesthetic. I'm in there. Yeah. And the anaesthetist comes in, starts doing blood pressure and things, and she said, your pulse is over 220. And I said, well, yeah, it would be. I haven't taken my tablets. Mm. Oh, why didn't you? And I said, well, because I was told not to.
Yeah.
You know, always check these things. I've just seen another lady, Carla, was talking about her mum who went into hospital and was told to take all her tablets before her surgery. Then on the day of the surgery, oh no, you're on an anticoagulant, we can't operate. So when they say take all your tablets,
question it.
Actually, yeah, go through what your tablets are and what you're taking them for, because, you know, you need to be in the driving seat. So as I say, back to my knee surgery, when I was having that done, I was actually able all through the surgery to tell the anaesthetist what was going on with me because I could feel it. And so she was able then to counteract that with various different bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And, you know, that worked really, really well for us. Also, when Neil got ill, it was, we'd not long got the two Labrador puppies.
Yeah.
And we were taking them off to, you don't mind me telling
No, you
about
tell
this.
the whole story.
We were taking them off to puppy classes, and I noticed that the puppies were learning it. They were doing really well, but Neil wasn't. He hadn't got a clue what any of the commands were. You know, and I thought, this is just not right. And then also at home, he was sleeping in a weird way, in that he would sleep all night long, come downstairs, fall immediately asleep on the sofa. And then as the dogs were growing up, you know, we now have 2 4.5 stone dogs who would literally run all over him, run up the length of his body, and he wouldn't flinch. There was nothing. It was like he was in a coma.
And pre to that, I was working and I was having to try and drink more and more Coke and more caffeine to try and stay awake before it was a case of, no, I'm too ill to work.
So eventually at that time, you know, I'd told him, you're going to have to take time off sick now.
Yeah.
Sent him off to the doctors. Unusually, I didn't go with him that time, but he went off and I said, whatever they do, you know, if they start saying depression, don't let them give you antidepressants, because it's not that. I knew it wasn't. So sure enough, he comes home and he said, oh, doctor says it's depression. He said he wrote out the prescription, but he said, my wife says I'm not allowed.
Well, it was at that point, that direct point after that, it was like, no, Jan, please come to every doctor's appointment, because I'm not going to be able to remember what they're saying.
Yeah.
And that's when I needed Jan to come and advocate for me.
What I did at that point, when the doctor had said that it's diagnosed depression, I actually wrote to the doctor and I said, this is a lazy diagnosis, and I thought this doctor is going to sack us both, you know. But I said, this is a lazy diagnosis. You need to be checked, because thank goodness for Google. I said, you need to be checking for this, 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 this and this. And instead of getting really cross with me, he was a lovely doctor, wasn't he? He actually wrote back and he said, you're right. He said, no, you are right, and yes, I will. And that's when we started getting Neil tested for various different things. But even then, it was us, because by this time Neil's researching as well.
Yeah.
We were the ones who actually found out that it was Hashimoto's as opposed to just low thyroid.
Exactly, because initially it was just low thyroid, and that...
And, you know, as far as the GP was concerned, it was low thyroid, you know, just take a couple of tablets and you'll be all right. But it wasn't. It was far worse than that. And so we had to really push to get an appointment with an endocrinologist and actually get him moving.
And even then, the endocrinologist, this was kind of like March time of year, and they tried to get me to have an appointment in September. And I had to get on the phone to them and really explain just how bad this was. And after explaining the extent of what was actually going on, it was a case of, right, can you manage tomorrow morning before they actually squeezed me in at the beginning and got me a next day appointment.
Another example of advocating for yourselves, and this time for the dog, was Bear, our big Greek shepherd, got an infection in his paw, so we took him along to the vet, and we hadn't got a clue what it was at that stage, but it turned out after a load of tests, it turned out to be can't remember the name of it. It's a flesh-eating bacteria. Pseudomonas, yeah. And after that, they gave him some treatment. It kind of got a bit better. A week or two later, it all flared up again. And then this was a rolling story of they treat it, it'd get a little bit better, then it'd flare up again and again and again and again. And it went on for years and cost us God knows how many thousands of pounds in treatment. And it wasn't until I did all the research myself, and we saw so many different vets. And every single vet said, well, it might not be that, it might be something else. One vet was telling us it was a broken leg. And it was like, no, you can see the flesh is eating off his paws here. You know, and finally we went in, saw yet another new vet, and I said, look, this has been going on far too long, and this dog is in so much distress. And at one point we thought he was going to lose his paw. It was so bad. And we'd had a situation where they had to anaesthetise him to shave out the paw and give him all the tests and things. But then they wanted to dress it twice a week at the vets, but they would have to anaesthetise it. And I said, no way, no. I'm not having... It's if they need the anaesthetic once, that's one thing, but you can't just do it as an ongoing thing.
Bear's not a small dog. But...
well, no. Before he came to us in Greece, when he had his castration done, when they went to take the stitches out, it took 5 grown men to hold him down for the vet to get the stitches out. But having said that, I thought, I'm not going to put him through taking drugs that he doesn't need. So while we were doing the dressings at the vet, between the vet, the nurse, Neil and I, we would hold him down physically between us, and eventually he was very good, and he was in pain, but he would let us do it. And then it sort of progressed to just Neil and I doing it. We just used to lay him on a table in the kitchen, and you'd lay across him and I'd do all the bits and pieces and bandage it up. So I was going to show you this stuff, because for anybody that's got kids and might need bandages, again on Amazon, if you just go for vet bandages, this stuff is fantastic. It sticks to itself, so you don't have to worry about it all coming undone. And for kids, it comes in all sorts of different colours. Well, it does for the animals, but if you're bandaging your children, you can do it in all sorts of different colours. But it's just stretchy, and as long as you put a sterile whatever it is over that, then so I really recommend that. But having said that, going back to with the vet, we finally saw the last vet, and I walked in and I said, look, this has been going on far too long. I need this dog to be on this antibiotic because I've done all the research, and I said he needs to be on it for 6 months, which pained me to say because it was something like £6 a tablet, so £6 a day for 6 months wasn't going to be a cheap option. But having said that, I said I need a prescription, and then buying it online I was getting it for £2 as opposed to £6. But he had the whole 6 months treatment, and also I'd asked for a specific ointment. And after years and years and years of this problem going on, using the protocol that I said to the vet that I wanted, it's cleared up, and
touch wood,
it's stayed okay. So really hope. But the point being, you have to learn for yourself what's good for you, what's good for your animals, and don't be afraid to challenge medical professionals. I can hear every doctor out there saying, what is that woman saying? But no, don't be afraid to challenge them. They don't know everything. I don't know everything. I go to the experts because they're supposed to know more than me. But if I find out I actually know more than them, then I will challenge. And so the other thing that I do with the dogs is, if I'm doing Bear still needs to have his paws shaved out because he really grows long tufts of hair, or if they need their ears cleaning or anything like that. The biggest problem is that you can't see what you're doing. So this is this is what I do. Yeah. Might look an idiot.
It doesn't matter what it looks like, does it?
Exactly. It means I can see, but also, I've got it. It's flashing there. If you've got a human who's got a splinter, you need to have, I don't know if you can...
Pair of tweezers?
Yeah, I was just trying to show it against I was trying to show it against a black background, Neil, so that people could see it. You can't see it against white, you need to go against black. Put it in front of that. No, that's gone on now.
Pair of tweezers.
Anyway, it's a pair of tweezers. So, the wound that is common to all of us, that sooner or later you're going to get a splinter. Tweezers is good to have in any kind of prepper first aid.
Yes.
I don't tend to have first aid kits and things like that because in all my life experience, we've never really needed it.
No, not a first aid kit, more of an arsenal, or it's kind of like your stores of...
Well, I find that if there's something happened that we need it, like Bear and his poorly paw, I'll just order it all and get it at the time. I know that you can't do that in all situations, but that was the best thing for us. One thing I do like to keep in is Piriton, because our chocolate Labrador used to get allergies, so but also that's very good if you can't sleep, if you have a... Not that I advocate taking tablets to make you sleep, but... And the other thing that I keep in is I always keep in low dose aspirin. There was a time when we were always told that an aspirin a day is good for us, and they've stopped saying that now.
Have they?
That's a 75 milligram size, and I keep those in because I am on anticoagulants, and if there is a time in the future when I can't get hold of my tablets, then I can take aspirin and it will do the same job.
Right.
If I can't get the 75 milligram, I have this helpful little gadget. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's got a razor inside it, and you put the tablet in and then you can close it and...
Which is pretty cool.
And cut tablets in half. So we've got that, but also part of being in charge of our own health, I like the toys.
Always like the toys.
I have a blood pressure monitor.
Yep.
And this one is lovely because it hooks up to my mobile phone, and so I take my blood pressure press a button and then it's got a record of all my blood pressures.
Nice.
Which is very useful for me because my GP surgery keeps saying to me, you need to come in for your hypertension check. I don't have hypertension. And this has been non-going round with them for years and years and years. I did have it, but that was when I was pregnant. My son is now 43. It was a while ago. In fact, I go the other way. I've got hypotension, I've got low blood pressure. But with my blood pressure machine, I can actually keep an eye on it and keep a record of it. So when I go in for my hypertension check, I can say, look, these are my numbers for the last month. And they say, oh, you haven't got a problem, have you?
So if you're buying
although I'll just say that a funny story, when I had one of the knees done, the day after the surgery, two physiotherapists had come out and they wanted to see how well I could walk on the new knee, and I just walked a few steps, but I knew that my blood pressure was really low and I was going to pass out. So I got back to the chair, kind of sat in the chair, absolutely blacked out. While I'm unconscious, they must have panicked, hit the red button, because when I came round in the chair, I come around and there's all these people around me, just hundreds of people all just staring at me. So I opened my eyes and just screamed. And the minute I screamed, so did they. So you just got this whole room full of people just screaming at each other. But anyway, that was just a funny story from back then. I also have a pulse oximeter just to keep an eye that my blood is being oxygenated enough. So no matter what my blood pressure's doing, I can see if I've got enough. 100%. And my pulse is 55 at the moment. See, I have a low pulse. That's just it turning off. And then because my last one broke, I have a new pointy at your head thermometer. So I've got a digital thermometer.
Excellent.
Because I think if you can keep an eye on these things for yourself. I also keep a blood sugar kit, so we can keep an eye on our blood sugar, and because your family is predisposed to diabetes.
Yeah.
Not because overweight. I mean, your mum's actually really slim, isn't she?
Yeah.
But you know, type 2 diabetes does run in Neil's family. What are we doing time-wise? I can't see.
17 minutes.
Okay. Was there anything else that I wanted to say? Sorry, I've just got all these things out to show you. One of the things that I swear by is aloe vera with propolis cream. Now I can't show you the whole tube because this is a Forever Living one. It was running out, so what I do is I cut the tube off and then I get one of these tube squeezer things, because if you put that on, that keeps what's left inside nice and fresh still. And they're available on Amazon. I think I said in the other video at the beginning, but I didn't say it in this video, so it's really important to know that everything that I'm saying, this is me, my experience, this is what we do. I'm not advocating it for anybody else. You know, I'm not medically trained, nor's Neil. We just do what we do to keep ourselves as healthy as possible and keep our animals as healthy as possible.
And we're not sponsored by any products.
Yeah, not sponsored by any.
Yet. I mean, give us a call.
Yeah, so I use the propolis cream I've used it on wounds, on when Bear had poorly paw, I was using it.
Great for skin, isn't it?
What I do when I've got a cut thing and you can't actually squeeze it out of the tube anymore, I just get a cotton bud and get a bit on the cotton bud and then apply it with that, so you're not dipping fingers in and out.
It's great stuff, isn't it? But it's not normally cheap, so you want to try and use it all.
Yeah, and I don't know if there are other brands available. There may well be other brands, but this is the one that we've always used, so it's the one that I've stuck to. So I've got just various different bandages and things. All this was from when Bear had poorly paw. I just got a load of things. That's just a straightforward crepe bandage, but the ordinary crepe bandages that you buy in the chemist have the metal fastenings to try and do it up.
Oh, do
But yeah, I won't open it because it's sterile.
It's
but
sterile,
this type of thing that sticks to itself is just so much better. And then I've got dressing pads, just oh, these are all individually wrapped. I've forgotten about that. So it's just a sterile dressing pad, but you know, we don't tend to have lots of wounds and things, do we? I mean, I do cut myself a lot, which is why I'm not allowed in the kitchen very often, but and then because I'm on the anticoagulants, I bleed a lot as well. But generally speaking, if I do that, I'll just wrap a plaster around it and then put some latex gloves on just to keep the plaster in place.
Yeah.
Did I talk about all of this stuff? No, I didn't.
What have you got here?
What I also have is what you got in your cupboard. Good old-fashioned salt. Several times it's happened where we've had abscesses to deal with, especially with cats. Years ago, I had a cat sat on my lap. As I'm stroking its head, just at the top of the head, I could feel some sort of scabby thing and a lump. I'm a bit of a picker anyway. Picked on this scab, took the top off it, and all this smelly nastiness started coming out. So I squeezed as much out as I could, then started bathing it in salt water. Felt guilty and thought I should have taken the cat to the vet. So I took the cat to the vet, paid £30 to say, this is what happened, this is what I did. And the vet said, you did exactly the right thing, nothing else to do. 30 quid, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, so salt for wound, and we've used, when we were bathing Bear's paw, we used it in
salt water.
Salt water. I've used it for other wounds, and I can't think what other wounds. During the pandemic, I've got a slightly loose tooth where I passed out in the kitchen and knocked a tooth loose. So because it hasn't got a firm seal around the gum got infected, and so contacted the dentist and had a telephone appointment. So anything more ridiculous than a phone appointment for a dentist. But I said, I've got an infection in my gum. I've just been soaking salt water.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing the right thing. Thank you very much. At least he didn't charge me. But you know, salt water, you can't really do much better. Just slightly warm water to dissolve the salt. Another thing in the cupboard is good old-fashioned sodium bicarbonate, or bicarbonate of soda, or baking powder is different because they add corn flour to it, so it's got to be bicarbonate of soda. I've got this one just to show you. I actually buy it in 10 kilogram tubs, so this isn't the one that I just top this one up and keep it upstairs normally. But if you've got any sort of gassy tummy or anything, a teaspoon of that in some water, that will do very well. And you know, if you need your drains cleaning, your drains, not physically, then you know, it's brilliant for cleaning. But you know, in the old days we used to turn to things in the cupboards for all sorts of things. And while I'm talking about salts, I haven't got any to show you, but Epsom salts. If you have aches and pains, muscle aches and things, handful of Epsom salts in your bath water, 10-15 minute soak will help the muscles, but it's very good for the heart because it relaxes all your veins and arteries and things. If you're going to buy any Epsom salts, especially in the UK, don't go to Sainsbury's or whatever and buy them. You can find them in there, but they'll charge you an arm and a leg for it. Go on the internet. I think I get mine from epsomsalts.co.uk or something as ridiculously simple as that. And again, I normally buy 10 or 20 kilos at a time, and then we
just a handful in the bath as you have a bath.
Throw a handful in the bath. You know,
have a little relax for 15 minutes or so. And
yeah, so that's what we do to keep ourselves as healthy as we can. And I have to say that whilst we have health issues, we don't actually get ill very much, do we?
No.
I mean, we're not kind of sickly people.
We kind of have what we've got and leave it as that kind of thing.
We can't afford to be ill. We've got too much other stuff going on, and you know, I just do whatever I can. I spend a lot of time, you know, I love Google. I mean, it runs in my family anyway. My grandmother had a huge old medical encyclopedia. She had everything in that book by the time she died. So there is the danger of you start looking and you think, oh, you know, I've got everything, when you actually haven't. But if you have got something, especially if it's been diagnosed by a medical professional, learn about it, find out about it, find out if you're on the right treatments and things. You know, another thing that really bears saying is when I came out of hospital last time, I'd had, actually in the hospital, I'd had 80 major back-to-back epileptic fits.
Yeah.
And so they had put me on anti-epilepsy medication. And the one I came home on, I didn't know anything about it. I was taking the tablets because I was told if I don't take the tablets I might have more seizures, and I didn't want that. But I became aware that even though I wasn't depressed, I wasn't upset, I didn't want to die, but I was obsessed with thoughts of suicide. Not only suicide, but suicide in the most gory ways as you could think possible. And I just, from the moment I woke up in the morning until the time I went to bed at night, all I could think of was these horrific thoughts. Got onto Google, looked up this particular drug and realised it was the drug that was causing all these thoughts.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I need to change. I knew at that time it had to be the consultant that changed the medication, not my GP. So there's no point going to the GP. So I wrote a letter to the consultant thinking, well, it's going to take months before I actually get to see him. But I'm going to have to do something. I've got to be proactive here. Got the letter in the post, 5 o'clock in the evening. Thought it's probably going to be 3 or 4 weeks before I hear anything, and then it'll be 3 or 4 months before I get an appointment. He was actually on the phone the next morning by 10 o'clock. And he said, we can't have you like this. He said, you know, were you okay on the drug? Because they'd had me on another drug in the hospital. Were you?
Yeah.
He said, we'll put you back onto that one. I said, well, I've still got all those that were prescribed while I was in hospital. I've got those. So immediately I started the changeover under his supervision from this dreadful drug onto this other one. Now, you know, other people might be on the dreadful drug and have no problem with it whatsoever. But if you suddenly start having thoughts that really don't belong to you, whether it's on some sort of anything to do with the brain, whether it's an antidepressant, because, you know, when you look through all these mass shootings in schools and things, very often the person who did it will be on some sort of antidepressant. I'm not saying they all were,
no,
but it does seem to be a common thing that they will have these either suicidal issues or homicidal issues. So if you have any kind of thoughts that you don't recognise as being part of you, then look into the medication that you're taking, research it, and then talk to the person who prescribed it and say, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Because very often, you know, there's half a dozen different drugs that you could take instead of the one that you're on that might suit you better. And as I say, not everybody gets the adverse effects. What's the time saying?
It's coming up to 29 minutes.
Right, we're going to have to say goodbye then because the camera's going to cut out. So thank you for watching. If you stuck with us this far, take good care of yourselves. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.
Can you do it? Thanks. Bye.